Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome back to another video. Good to have you. Good to see you. Do me a favor, guys, as you come in here, let me know where you're coming from, what city, what state, what county, what country, and give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay and my audio's coming through okay. Looks like we have a few folks all the way already in here. Sarah, good to have you. Appreciate you being here. Great, great, great. Let's see here. Jay in the house. Good to have you, Jay. Clint Perry, good to have you. Alvira's here. Grace and peace to you, Alvira. Back at you. Freddie's in the house. The Willie Wilo, good to have you here from Maple Shade, New Jersey. Right on. Okay. So something Alvira said, no, no, no. Listen, the title of this video is Are You Investing Enough Money to Retire Comfortably? That's a question that kind of harkens to a lot of people that contact me. They're not sure if they have enough money. And I said, you know what better day to have this conversation than today? Do you have enough money? Are you actually investing enough money to retire comfortably? I'm going to walk through some numbers here and let you guys figure this out. Listen, this is different for everybody, right? So what I may think is enough for me may not be enough for Nigel. What I think is enough for me and what Nigel thinks is enough for Nigel and Jay thinks is enough for Jay and Robert, we're all different, right? We're all different. Where we are, how old we are, how long we have before we want the money, how much money we need, what city we live in, like all of these factors play a role. Personal finance is personal. So I want to have this really important conversation to say, hey, do you personally have enough money? This is a question you got to answer for you, right? I'm going to give you some ways to think about it and things to think about what you can and cannot do, and then you got to make that decision. Mrs. Moore's in the house. Good to have you, Mrs. Moore. Thank you so much. Hoping to hear some solutions. Looking forward to a lecture. Is this a lecture session, Alvira? I didn't know it was lecture. Okay, I'm lecturing. That's okay. I don't mind lecturing, right? Let's see. BJM is in the house from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hey, Namisha's in the house. Salute to you, Jay. Thank you, Nigel's checking in from Winnipeg, Canada. Woo, way up there. It's probably still cold up in Winnipeg. Valencia's here. Good to have you, Valencia. San Jose, California's in the house. Kathy Schumann, good afternoon from Arizona. Kimmy Apples in San Antonio, right, where they have the what is that walk? They have something walk down there. Aretha's in the big arch of St. Louis, right? Hopefully on the Missouri side as opposed to the East St. Louis, Illinois side. Appreciate that, Mrs. Moore. Gigglebox, hey, Gigglebox from Jacksonville, Florida. Fantastic. Somebody said, let's see, BJM said, I retired early and moved from USA to Mexico with permanent residency. Congratulations. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We also have somebody from Mexico City, looks like. So we got Listen, this is one of those topics that it's not necessarily about what specific stocks and what specific ETFs, but this conversation is relevant for all of us because I don't care if you're 25 years old. You need to be thinking about, are you going to retire? I don't care if you're 45, 50, 60 years old. You got to be thinking about, do I have enough money? That's a question that we all have to wrestle with, right? We all got to ask ourselves, listen, the fact is most Americans are not investing enough money to retire early or to retire comfortably, right? By the way, everything we say here today, I'm talking about gross, gross, gross. I like to look at gross income as opposed to net income, right? I like gross because, look, gross is all the money we earn. So when you take out health care, health insurance, are you taking it out from your net or your gross? You're taking out health care from your gross, right? Are you taking out taxes from your gross or your net? You're taking out taxes from your gross, right? So if you're taking out everything else from your gross, why not take out your investing that you're using to pay your future self from the gross? Don't limit yourself to the net when everything else is coming out the gross. That's my opinion. If you truly want to pay yourself first, then pay yourself first from the gross, right? Remember, hey, listen, you're the CEO of this thing, right? You're the one that's building this seven-figure enterprise called you. So you do whatever you feel is best. But I like to do everything off the gross. Let's see. Kathy said retire, probably work till I drop. No, Kathy. Listen, let me say this too up front. There's nothing wrong with continuing to work if you want to work. I am that guy that says, listen, LeBron James, if you want to keep playing in the NBA until you're 50, do it. Tom Brady, if you want to keep throwing the football till you're 50, do it. It's not a big deal. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Tiger Woods, whoever it is, listen, do it. Right? If you want to keep working, keep working. You don't have to ever retire. If you don't want to retire, you can keep working till you're 50, 60, 80 years old. Doesn't matter. There's 90-year-olds that work. Sometimes people like to work to keep themselves busy. My thing is this. I want you to retire from the job, but I want you to keep on doing your work, whatever that work is. And if that work is your job, cool. Keep that thing going. So do me a favor, guys. Think about also, this is going to be a rather quick video, not super quick, but somewhat. Share this information with somebody that you know. Do me that small favor and just click the link to this thing and share it with other people. Share it in your group. Share it with your family, your friends, your loved ones, your good people, whoever they may be, because this is a topic that we all got to think about. Okay. The first thing I want to jump in talking about is the rule of 25. And I know some of you probably know what that is. Art of Wars in the house. Good to have you here. Good evening back at you. C. White, good to have you here. Let's see here. We got freedom is not free. I think it should be, do you have enough net income sources to retire? Yeah. Sources of income do make a difference, right? Wallet Invest. 40 years old, 270K portfolio. That's nice. Enough money so far for the retirement? Yes, you got enough. What are you talking about? 40 years old? You should have 2 to 3 million by the time you get 60 years old. Easy. Right? Because your money's going to compound. Let's see here. Somebody says, do something you like. Good evening from Sacramento, California. Sacktown, I think is what they call it. Good to have you here, Jacqueline or Jacqueline. Guys, do me a favor. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Please hit that like button as you come in as we jump into this conversation. Aretha's in the house. Thank you, Aretha, for being here. Pro is out in Malaysia. What time is it in Malaysia? Let me think. It's got to be boom, 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 boom. It's got to be like what is Malaysia like? 10 in the morning or something? Maybe 8 in the morning? Maybe less than that. All right. So the rule of 25. Let me just kind of go over what the rule of 25 is. You might want to get a piece of paper, pencil, pen, whatever. With the rule of 25, and this is kind of the conventional thought process of a lot of folks, right? The rule of 25 says, figure out your monthly expenses. This is why budget's important, right? What is your monthly expenses? Come to that conclusion. 8:20 a.m. I was close. I said 10 a.m. in Malaysia. What is your monthly expenses? Meaning, what is the amount of money that you spend comfortably every single month today? Every single month today. For some of you, it's going to be 3,000. For some of you, it's going to be 6,000, 7,000. Everybody's figure or number is different. When you think about and figure what your monthly expenses are, the rule of 25, hang with me, it says to take that monthly figure. Let's just say, let me pull out my calculator. I'm not going to share my screen right now, but let me just pull out my calculator. Let's say, guys, tell me what your monthly income is in the chat. Guys, let me know. Guys, throw it out at me. Just holler it out at me in the chat. And I'll figure out a kind of an average or a median of that. What is your monthly income? If you don't want to share it, don't share it. Ain't no big deal, right? No pressure, no heat, no judgment. If you do want to share, I'll say monthly income. What is your monthly expenses is what I should say. What is your monthly expenses? If it's 2,000, say 2,000. If it's 3,800, say 3,800. I'm going to try to figure out a mid number in between there, right? So for me, my base monthly expenses might be, base might be $5,000, maybe $5,000 or so. That's me, right? Robert said 4,000. I said 5,000. Look, I'm so crazy. I'm actually going to put mine out there, right? I put in the chat. I say 5,000. Jacqueline says 2,600. Nice, Jacqueline. Valencia says about 2,700. Robert, 4K. Mrs. Moore, about 3K. So it looks like I'm on the high side. Lala is at 1,800. So 2K, 5K, 3K. 5K is on the high side. So we're going to stay away from the high side. Hey, Loretta, good to have you here. So me, Nigel, and one other person around the 5K. David. Most are around the 3K to 2K. There's a 5,300. There's a 3,500. I think it's pretty safe to say about 1,800. Wow, that's nice. No, I won't share. I didn't share because you all wouldn't believe it. That's okay. Hey, you can share. We no heat, no judgment over here, right? Hey, Batman and Robin, good to have you here. How much is your monthly expenses? Because I want to do this with real numbers. Alvira 1800, Federette is 2000. I'm at a high 5K, said Batman. Okay, that's so 5K is on the high side. Let's go with something kind of right in the middle and let's call it about $3,500. Fair enough? Is that okay? So let's call it $3,500. The rule of 25 says that if your monthly expenses is $3,500, then that means your yearly expenses. Yeah, I was including mortgage in that, by the way. Jody's about 23, 27. Good. Pistol Pete, man, how you get $800 a month? Hey, congratulations. You gotta shake your hand there. Let's use $3,500 because that's kind of midway between, right? Some people are much lower, some are a little bit higher. So let's go with $3,500. The rule of 25. This is how you figure out if you have enough money to retire comfortably. This is one way to do it. This is sort of the conventional way to do it. Some of you may have heard of the 4% rule. This is the back door to the 4% rule, right? Got 5,800. Wow, you're up there. Chad, right around 27. Okay, so 35 is good. So take the $3,500 that you spend every single month. Take that $3,500 and multiply it by 12. That way you get a yearly figure of what you spend on your expenses, right? You got to have a yearly figure of what you spend. So some of you said it was $2,300. Multiply that by 12. Some of you said it was $3,000. Multiply that by 12. Some of you said it's $5,300. Multiply that by 12. I took $3,500 and I multiplied it by 12, and I came up with a figure of $42,000. That's my yearly expenses, $42,000. Yearly expenses. Everybody's going to be different because everybody's expenses per month are different, right? Now you take that $42,000. I took $3,500 a month for 12 months. It equaled $42,000. I take that $42,000. Let me go to my calculator over here and I'll multiply that number by 25. Guess what I have? $1,050,000. $1,050,000. That's my retirement figure. That's my number. You talk about what is my number that I need to retire? I'm 40 years old. That's your number. Your monthly expenses times 12 and then multiply that number by 25. That's the conventional way to figure out whether or not you have enough money to retire. That's the amount of money that you ought to have when you decide to retire, whether you decide to retire at 40, whether you decide to retire at 60, whether you decide to retire at 55, whatever. That's the number. This is the rule of 25 I'm talking about to give you guys an idea because I get this question a lot. How much money do I need to retire? Well, this is how you figure it, right? This is how you figure it. And Pistol Pete, listen, I appreciate you. Pistol Pete said no debt, no mortgage, no car payment. I'm 58 years old. Perfect. Love it. That's where we want to be. That's where I want to be by the time I get ready to retire is I don't want to have any mortgage at all. Because when you lop off that mortgage or that rent, next thing you know, your expenses for the month goes way down. Let's keep it 100, right? Your expenses are going to go way, way down. So let's get back to our example, our scenario. I said I spend $3,500 a month. I multiplied by that by 12. I got $42,000 that I spent on expenses every single year. All I did was take that $42,000 and I multiplied it by 25. I came up with a figure of $1 million and $1,050,000, right? That's how much you need to live on for the next 30 years and beyond for retirement if you implement what we call the 4% rule. The 4% rule is where you withdraw 4% of your overall nest egg to live on every single year. So if you go back and you look at that figure of $1 million, $1,050,000, 4% of that figure is, guess what? $42,000. So this is just the 4% rule, but a backdoor way of getting at it. We call it the rule of 25 to see how much money you need to live on for the next 25 to 30 years or more of your life that you can actually retire with. So if my expenses every month are $3,500 a month today, I could live comfortably just like I'm living today for the next 30 years if I had $1,050,000 in investments today. You got to do this figuring on your own with whatever your monthly expenses are, right? That means, and here's how the 4% rule works. That means the moment I retire, let's say I retire at 55 years old with $1,050,000 in my investments, it is safe to say that I can withdraw 4% of that money every single year. Wait a minute. The 4% rule by itself is for year number one. And then the next year, year two that I'm retired, I withdraw my 4% plus whatever inflation was the previous year, right? Year three, I pull out what my 4% plus what inflation was year two. Year four, I pull out my 4% plus whatever inflation was year three. You see what I'm doing here? I'm not just pulling a flat out 4% from $1 million and $1,050,000. I'm pulling 4% plus inflation. And that way, what I'm spending, my expenses are accounting for inflation, right? If that makes any sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. But that's how the 4% rule is. It's not just that you take that $1,050,000 and you pull out 4%. No, you got to pull out 4% plus inflation, because every year you're going to be hit with inflation, and the value of your money changes, right? So that's what, and there's been a lot of people. There's been, people that said 4%, that's not enough money to live on. You should be pulling out 8%, 9%. I could run the math right here in front of you guys and show you the calculations and show you all of the math that's been done and studied on that. So 4% is pretty safe. It's fail proof 99% of the time, 98% of the time, whatever it was. I'm not sure what the deviation was. But the point is that it works. It works, right? The rule of 25 is a very common guideline that people use for retirement savings. It just so we're clear, it just suggests that you need 25 times of whatever your annual expenses are. You figure your annual expenses times it by 25, that gets you there, right? Again, based on the rule that you can pull out 4% plus inflation, 4% every year, and it's going to last you for at least 30 years, right? That's how you determine. Listen, that's how you figure it. That's how you figure it based on the calculation that's the most popular calculation that's out there, right? And once you figure these numbers, you got to run your own scenario through these numbers. Once you do that, you've got to calculate, okay, wait a minute. I need to have $1,050,000 by the time I retire. My landscapes, how am I going to get there? Right? You could be 55 watching this. You could be 45. You could be 40, like someone was. How do you get there? How do I get there? So now, if you do this calculation and you figure out you need $1,050,000, now you got to figure out, okay, I'm 40 years old with $300,000. Am I going to get there by the time I want to retire? Right? It's just a blueprint, right? You may say, I want to save, I want to invest enough money and have enough money to not just spend my $3,500 a month that I'm living on right now. I want to live a life that's double that. I want to be able to spend $7,000 every month. Okay, no trip. Take your 7,000, multiply it by 12, because you want to live twice as well as you are right now. That's going to be $84,000 of expenses a year. Multiply that by 25. That's going to be 2.1 million. That means if you want to double, if you're living off $3,500 a day, but you don't want to live like that when you retire, you want to double your lifestyle because you want to be balling, right? Guess what? Now you got to have invested 2.1 million. Okay, great. Because withdrawing 4% of 2.1 million every single year is going to mean that you'll be withdrawing $84,000 a year, which is roughly $7,000 a month, right? So that's how the math works. You can fiddle and finagle the math however you want to finagle it, but that's how it works. And you got to make that calculation if you want to go by that calculation. And you can change it here and there to suit whatever you want it to suit, right? For a lot of you, in order to reach that retirement number, you've got to begin to increase what you actually invest today. You've got to go ahead and stretch. Let me know in the chat, guys. How many of you in the chat? Let me see what we're saying in the chat. I haven't even been in the chat, guys. Let's see. What are all these rules? Why do all these rules not assume your retirement money ceases to accrue income? Warren, maybe I'm missing what you're saying on that, but the rules, the whole point of the rules is to say, how much do I need when I retire? And it's saying that if you never ever work again, this is what you need. The chances that you turn 45, 55 years old and you retire and never work again is rare, right? You'll probably do something to earn some income somewhere. You may not. You may just want to travel and, and kind of go around to country and backpack your way through life. Not a big deal if you do. But the point is that this is just saying if you never work beyond, this is the base bottom minimum. Now, you may say, I'm going to retire at 60, but I'm going to continue to do something. And that's cool too, right? So good point. Good point, Warren. Let's see. Jacqueline said, I have a long way to go. Listen, that's okay. This is the start right here. This is where you get this thing kicked off, right? This is where you get this thing going right now, today, tonight, this evening. This is when you get this thing rocking and rolling right now. You don't have to wait. Don't despair. Don't be upset. Don't look at your overall picture and say, my goodness, I can never get to listen. For some people, the reason that it'll be hard for you to get to 2.1 million or whatever it may be. The reason is because maybe you got to start dialing back a little bit as you start to reach that age when you say, I'm 10 years out from becoming from retiring. Maybe you got to start dialing back your lifestyle, but increasing your investments, increasing the amount of money. This is what I talked about a few days ago. Instead of saying I'm only going to put 3% towards my 401k, go ahead and put the full 10, 15, 20%. Stop selling your future self short, right? Increase that thing. Listen, I said it before, I'll say it again. The biggest mistake I've ever made with money cost me at least $500,000 is I was investing too little for too long, right? Don't do what I did. Move that thing up. Even if somebody said they're 40 years old. If you're 40 years old, man, you got time on your side. You're 40 years old. In the next 15 years, try throwing 15% towards your investments. You'll be shocked at what you end up having. Try throwing 20%. Move some stuff around in your life. Some of you are saying, hey, look, all I have is $1,800 a month. Maybe you move some stuff around, get some higher paying skills, or get some skills, go out and get some new skills so you can make more money and do some things that you want to do. And you have more money to invest, right? To get to the number that you need to get to retire comfortably, you may have to do some sacrificing. You may have to take your investments from that 10% that you're putting into your 401k, your 403b, your 457, your Roth, your IRA. You need to maybe take and put more money in there. Now, Roth, you're limited, right? 7,000 under 50 years old, 8,000 above 50 years old. But otherwise, listen, maybe this is the other thing I want to say about this. If you decide to increase the amount of money you put towards your 401k above and beyond the match, please, please, please know what they're investing that money in. Don't just increase your 401k and they've got you in some life cycle fund that's only returning 1% return on investment for the last 5 years, and you don't know it because you haven't checked to see where they're investing your 401k money. You got to know all that stuff. You got to know it all. Where are you putting my 401k? Because that's going to determine whether or not I'm going to increase my putting towards my 401k, or if I'm just going to get the match and take the rest of my money and go invest it at my own brokerage account on my own, right? But you've got to make some of these decisions. That's why I say personal finance is so personal, because you get to make decisions. But you got to consider strongly, if you're not where you want to be, based on the calculations we just talked about, based on the rule of 25, where you're multiplying your yearly expenses by 25, and you're saying, wow, That's 1.5 million. That's 1.2 million. That's what I need to retire comfortably. And it seems and feels like it's too much. I understand it. But now maybe you can spend the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years doing what you can. Listen, even if you just max out, let me go to a compound interest calculator real quick. Even if you say to yourself, you know what, let me just let me just max out my Roth for the next 15 years. Let's say I'm 40 years old. Let's say I'm 35 years old. I want to max out my Roth for 15 years and I want to put $7,000 a month towards it. And I would share my screen, but I'm in a compound interest calculator. If I said I'm just going to put $7,000, and we know the max for a Roth, it goes up, so it won't stay 7,000. But let's say I just put 7,000 a year towards it over the next 15 years, and I got, let's say, 9% return on investment in terms of my interest. Right, that's $225,000. That's $250,000 right there, just maxing out a Roth for 15 years, and you're under the age of 50. Right. Let's say you're 50 years old and you get to put 15,000 in there. I'm sorry, 8,000 a year. We know it's going to go up. That's $256,000. If you're 50 and you say I'm going to max out my Roth, that's just a Roth. Meaning you're going to get that $256,000 and you ain't got to pay no taxes on it because every month you've been putting, $600, whatever it was, towards your Roth. The point I'm trying to make is you got to make the sacrifice. You've got to figure out, what do I have to do to get up to that number, right? Don't just get the match at your job. The match is easy. The match is conventional. The match is what they all do. The match is like whatever. You want to be like everybody else, do what everybody else does. You want to be different, you got to do more. The earlier you plan to do this, the more money you're going to have ultimately. And I know it's tough for some of us. I get it. Been there, done that. Let's see here. I need a vacation and have fun. Jay, I get it, Jay. What do we do if an unexpected medical expense occurs? Freedom. Great question. What do we do if an unexpected medical expense occurs? First of all, it depends on how big that medical expense is. Also, could there be a portion of that medical expense that could be written off? Also, do you have some savings put aside before you've increased your investments that you can pay towards that? Right? Are there anything that the hospital or wherever you accrued this medical expense, what can they do for you based on your situation? Right? There's a whole list of things we could talk about in that situation, Freedom, but that does happen to some people. Let's keep it real, right? But just got to make sure you have that insurance. Hey, some of you may be in good health today. You may be younger and you may say, hey, I just want to start a HSA, health savings account, and put towards that, and keep putting towards that. And that can help in those types of situations where you have an emergency or some type of medical bill. Let's see. I figure if I get $1 million and getting 4% ROI, I could live off 4% interest and never touch that meal. Possibly. Absolutely. Let's see here. Let's see. It works for me. I have done as well as some, but hated the rat race, no doubt. I'm saving 45% of my salary to my 401k and delaying gratification. Congratulations, man. I'm clapping. Congratulations. Fantastic. Hey, PC, I want you to think about something, though. PC, make sure you have a fully funded emergency fund, right? Make sure you've laid that foundation. If something goes wrong, you can cover yourself for 3, 4, 5 months of expenses, right? If you can, make sure you have that laid out and make sure you don't have a bunch of bad debt laying around, right? Right? You don't want to be putting 40% towards your 401k and next thing you know, or 40% towards retirement account. Next thing you know, you have a bunch of debt laying, or you got a car over here, a credit card over here. And it's like, okay, let's go ahead and get rid of the debt. Then we can go crazy on the investing, but make sure also you're not going over the threshold, because there's also a threshold when it comes to 401ks. Hey, Sharice Wales. Sharice, are you the former student of mine? Sharice, I used to teach school back in the 1990s. Years and years ago, I was a school teacher, a middle school teacher for years. And Sharice, if that's you, Sharice, let me know in the chat. But I think that might be one of my Sharice from years and years and years ago when I was teaching back then. Hey, good to see you. If that's you, let me know in the chat. Let's see. While I'm getting there, somebody said, I'm getting there. I'm trying to pay off my student loan debt before I aggressively build for retirement. Valencia, you got this. Congratulations to you for paying off one of those student loans today. You can do it. Let's see. Somebody said, I don't think I'm investing enough. Jacqueline, put your numbers in the rule of 25 and see how they shake out. And then once you put your numbers in the rule of 25 and see what you need, 1 million, 1.5, 900,000, whatever that may be. Once you put your numbers in there, now figure out, go to your calculator, your compound calculator, and plug in what you think you need to do to get there. Right? So I should show you that, but I probably won't. I'm not going to share my screen today. Guys, do me a favor and hit the like button for me. You got to do me that one favor, right? Take out a moment to smash that like button for me. Please hit the like button, share the link to the video with somebody you know, somebody you like, somebody who likes you, right? Or a group that you're in. Maybe you're in a Facebook group or something. Share this information, right? So here's a question. Do you do a net worth check once a year or twice a year at least? How often do you actually check how you're progressing, how much money you actually have invested, right? How often do you look at that? Somebody said, question, if you're married, how would the rule of 25 work? $1 million for both? If you're married, you have a household income and whatever then you have household expenses. Before you do any of this, you have to be doing a monthly budget, because that's going to help you determine what your monthly expenses are. So you do a household budget together. That's my suggestion. You do it together. Two heads are better than one. Two people paddling in the same direction is much easier, much less stress than one person paddling this direction, another person paddling the other direction. If you're married, put it together, do it all as one. Then you have household expenses of XYZ. Let's say you have a household expenses of $3,500 together, including mortgage, right? Household expenses includes mortgage or rent. Let's make that clear. It includes mortgage or rent. But if you're married, you do it together, right? That's my suggestion. Makes things much easier if you can do it. Good question, Otter War. Appreciate that. Tomorrow isn't promised. You need to spend too. I mean, you can say that tomorrow isn't promised. No, nothing's promised. None of this is promised, right? But don't be the person that ends up 25 years later who looks back and says, boy, I was that person that said ain't nothing promised, so I spent all my money. Don't be that person, right? Plan for your future. You're going to arrive in 20 years. The question is, where? You may not be here, but for most of us, we'll probably be here in 15, 20 years, right? But you got to plan. You can't be the person who has this short-term vision, who only sees the concert next weekend and don't plan for anything beyond that. I run into too many people like that, and it bothers me, because there's too many people who are living for today and don't even think about tomorrow. And then when tomorrow gets here, they're shocked that they're broke. Don't be that person. So you're right. You got to spend a little, but you got to plan, right? Rob, thank you so much, Rob. Appreciate you. I just maxed out my Roth for the year. I ain't playing around no more. Sunset Ocean, congratulations to you. And remember, the earlier in the year that you max out your Roth, the more time it has to grow, right? So you have up until to actually put money towards your Roth until the tax year of the next year. So for the year of 2024, we have up until April 14th of 2025 to put money towards our Roth for 2024. But the earlier you do it, the more it has time to grow. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. I had 10K in my portfolio, but took most of it out to pay down some debts. Did I do the right thing? It depends. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Excuse me. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with taking some money, paying off debt, and then going forward. Some of this depends on how old are you. Now, if you're talking about touching a retirement account, I wouldn't touch it. If it's a Roth or a 401k or an IRA, at a traditional IRA, say at Vanguard or somewhere, I wouldn't touch it. I would do what I could do to buckle down. But it all depends on your situation. Your situation could be different. There's other caveats, right? So I'm not totally mad at you. It was just 10K, right? But I prefer that you leave any money that's set aside for 10, 20, 30 years, that you leave that long-term money alone and do some sacrificing today. In other words, Brian, if it was going to take you 6 months to pay off that 10K, and not touch the money that's invested, I would have said, don't touch the money, right? But if you look at your situation, you don't have any money, you boom, 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 and it might have taken you 3 years to pay off the 10K, then I would have said, oh, go ahead and pay it. So it depends on a lot of things, Brian. I'm not mad at you. It's 10K out the way. Now it's time to get busy. Mr. Pete, let's see. Question. What's your question, Brian? Let's see. I check my 401k quarterly. That's good, Rob. Not bad at all. Somebody said, don't outlive your money. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. If you don't plan, sure. Live below your means. Like that, Mrs. Moore. Absolutely. Let's see. See if there's any questions. Big Qs. I got more to real quickly talk about. I just want you to understand, guys, these are the questions to make sure that you up your investments, that you make sure that you stretch yourself, sacrifice a little more, right? And these are the types of numbers that you need to know about you, about yourself, about your personal situation. How much do you need based on your monthly expenses today? That's going to require you to do a budget. It's going to require you to do a little bit of math. It's going to require you to do some thinking, some reflecting, some looking back to figuring and doing. It's going to make you think about your money. And the people that win with money are the people that focus on the money. If you want more money, you got to focus on it. Put some emphasis in it. Be intentional about it, right? The people that don't have money, a lot of times they ain't worried about it. They're sweeping stuff under the rug, not paying attention to it. They're in such a bad situation. They don't even want to look at it. They don't want to face it, right? But listen, we all make mistakes. Don't trip off mistakes. Not a big deal. We all do it, right? Let's see. Okay, so let me talk about this because some people have asked me this in my email recently. They asked me about the FIRE movement. Some of you have heard of the FIRE movement, right? FIRE, Financial Independence Retire Early. Financial Independence Retire Early, which is basically this just pretty much a lifestyle or a movement, a financial philosophy, if you will, of trying to achieve financial independence and retiring earlier than the traditional age, which the traditional age in America being 65 years old, sometimes 62 years old, right? Which is when you can get your Social Security. And by the way, I suggest, my opinion, get your Social Security when you can get it. Okay. Just to clear that up. I don't suggest you wait until you're 67 unless you're making a whole bunch of money and your Social Security is going to be reduced a whole lot to almost nothing and you don't need it, then maybe you can wait. But for the most part, for most people, you want to stop working or maybe go to part-time at age 62, get your Social Security. If you don't need it all at the time, you get it, but you don't really need it all because you got some investments and all that good stuff. Listen, put it aside, save it for a grandchild or whatever. But, invest it if you want, right? But the FIRE movement is one that I get a lot of questions about. And people say, well, what is the FIRE movement, right? It's a philosophy of living frugally so that you can retire way before age 65. And it's been real popular in the last 15, 20 years, maybe 10 years, 15 years, but especially among younger people, right? It's a focus on extreme saving and being frugal and investing a whole bunch of money early in your 20s in order to achieve the financial freedom early. So you have a high savings rate where you're saving and investing a whole bunch of money up to 50%, 60%, right? Maybe you're living at home when you're 25, 30 years old, 35 years old. You're living at home or whatever it could be, and you're just saving and investing everything, almost everything. It's also characterized by making sure you invest wisely. People that are into the FIRE movement, they're not putting their money in Forex and they're not day trading their money, right? They're putting their money in places that are safe, ETFs, index funds, etc., right? Investing in a safe, conservative, but wise way. And it's also characterized, as I said, real strong frugality, right? In other words, I'm an engineer coming out of school at the age of 24. I'm going to make $80,000 a year now, but in 5 years, I'll be making $120,000. I am going to save and invest 50% of that. And I'm going to do it for about 15 years, and I'm going to retire at the age of 45. That's FIRE, right? Early retirement, early financial independence. There's different types of FIRE, lean FIRE, fat FIRE, all these different types of FIRE, right? But the FIRE movement encourages individuals to take control of their financial future early, and then look down the road, and say, I want to travel the world when I'm 40 years old. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk. I'm 25 now. I want to travel the world when I'm 45, right? That's what people that fully engage. Is anybody in here engaged in the fire movement, by the way, since we brought it up? You guys give me a shout and let me know. I agree that investing while paying is always a good plan. Some of the things you say don't apply to my reality. I understand. I understand that, right? But most of the principles you share do because they're universal. Yeah, these are pretty much a lot of universal principles. But like you said, everybody's situation is slightly different. And that's why it's so hard to give financial advice because there's a lot that goes behind every single answer, right? If you make retirement money, put it in treasury bond. Treasury bonds are okay. They're going to have a small, tiny return. And still learning as well, Miss Moore, absolutely. Get a PhD about your money for show. I said for show, Valencia. Absolutely. Get a PhD about your money. Some people, they study everything, right? How to do this, how to do that. They learn this on YouTube, how to change a tire on YouTube, how to change brakes on YouTube, how to cook on YouTube, but they don't be looking at how to handle money on YouTube, right? But they should be, right? Let's see. Somebody said, I haven't made a lot of work. I'll likely collect early. High earners may be delayed. Yep, could be. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Get permanent life insurance. Not a fan of that, Jay. We can talk about that. BJM said, I did fire. BJM did fire. Fantastic. So at least one person in here understands and has gone through the fire movement. Jimbo said, I live at home, save rent, save a ton, and hate to spend money. So yeah, Jimbo Slice, you're right on the money. You're right there where you could be, right? You should be stacking money, right? Let's see here. So the fire movement. The whole point is this, guys, is work backwards. Try figuring out what your rule of 25 is. Rule of 25 is. And if you have a question, put a Q in there and I'll answer it for you. But figure backwards what your rule of 25 is. Monthly expenses multiplied by 12 multiplied by 25. That's what you can safely withdraw 4% on every single year, 4% plus the first year, 4% plus inflation year 2, 4% plus inflation year 3, etc., that you can safely live on for the rest of your life. And when you do that calculation, it's going to be a big number. Don't be nervous. You got this. Right? There's people that retire with nothing. So don't worry. If you retire with half of what that number is, you're in better shape than most people. But investing money, guys, is powerful. It's powerful to be able to grow your wealth. It's essential to be able to grow your wealth. Investing your money in appreciating things like the stock market, ETFs, index funds, single stocks, right? Increasing your contributions is my challenge to you. My challenge to you on this video, on this YouTube channel, is to get out and stretch yourself. I know it's difficult because of inflation. I know it's difficult because maybe you don't have the skills to make more money at the job you want to make more money at. I get it. But perhaps that can be a part of your goal so that you can start reaching towards your million, 900,000, 1.3 if you get higher paying skills and make more money, right? Sometimes the making more money is not just a side hustle. Sometimes the making more money means I'm sick and tired of being a cook at Wendy's. I want to go ahead and realize my dream of being an engineer. I want to go ahead and realize my dream of being a paralegal or my dream of being a surgeon, whatever it could be. My point is don't sell yourself short just because you're 45 years old and you don't have the money that you think you need to have. Perhaps it means you have to go get the cybersecurity certification, the data analysis certification. Maybe you got to go get this degree, that degree, higher degree, PhD, and pay for it in cash. But you got to get to the point where you are committed to increasing your contribution beyond 3%. Stop it, stop it, stop it. You're selling yourself short beyond 5%. Up it, right? Put more money towards it. Don't be afraid to do that, right? Put more money towards it. Do not just put 5% towards your 401k at your job and think that's going to be enough for you. Even if it means taking $100 every time you get paid and having it automatically come out of your bank account, your checking account, and going right towards some investments. Do that at least, right? And then, of course, be sure that you diversify. I'm not telling you to put all your money in NVIDIA or all your money in Broadcom or all your money in AMD, TS. No, you need to make sure you spread the thing out a little bit. Diversify, right? Stocks, bonds, real estate, whatever, gold, silver, whatever, commodity, corn, land, whatever it could be, right? Spread it out. Let's see here. Somebody said, I'm just reading back to the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. Somebody said, get permanent life insurance. Jay, I read it earlier, but listen, Jay, I'm not a fan of permanent life insurance. I'll tell you that flat out. I'm a fan of term insurance. I'm not a fan of permanent life insurance unless you get to the $1 million, $2 million net worth mark, and then you want to have some varying things that you want to do with some life insurance, and you want to go out and buy yourself a whole life policy. Cool. But the problem with permanent life insurance is that it's marketed to poor and middle class people, but it's really most useful for people who already have a lot of money. Because people will always say, well, this is how the millionaires do insurance. They do this. Yeah, they do that, but they don't do that on the way to becoming a millionaire. My opinion. Don't beat me up, Jay. Don't beat me up, Jay. Disagree, but we can still be cool, right? Right on. Let's see. I did fire. Good. I've already been there. Memories in Action is here. Good to have you here. I'm maxing out my Roth this year, and I increased my contribution to my brokerage account. Congratulations to you. Awesome. Fantastic. She also said, I decreased my contribution to my 401k. I had to make some changes because of it. Okay, fantastic. Memories are Action. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations to you. Sound like you're thinking, right? You're planning and you're strategizing. And that's one of the most important things that a lot of people don't do, right? Let's see here. Pistol Pete said money out of the system, gold, real estate, maybe crypto are things that may be good options and diverse wealth drivers. Could be. Absolutely. I'm in here. Better late than never. Patrick's in the house from Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina. All right. So challenge accepted. Increase that thing, Robert. Stop getting that 3%. You listen, if you don't want to be like everybody else and you want to have more than everybody else, you got to sacrifice more and you got to do more. You got to invest more than everybody else right now. Right? Go own the Wendy's, said Tam. Absolutely. Right? Just need passive income. Focus, said Nigel. Appreciate that. It's hard in the beginning, but when you see your investments increase, it's awesome. Hey, when you get your first 6 figures invested over 100,000, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. When you see your first 500,000 invested in the stock market, you watch out. You'll see what I'm talking about. You could be down $80,000 in a year with no problem. You could be up. You could do nothing but invest 15% of your income and watch your net or your amount that's in your investments go up by $100,000 in a year. Easy, right? Gets crazy after you get a whole bunch in there. I know it's difficult. Some of you say, man, I only got $20,000. I only got $30,000. And you see this swing of $3,000 or $4,000. Like, wow. But trust me, the more you keep going, the bigger those swings are and the more you have an opportunity to grow. Let's see. Somebody said, I don't know if we're considered FIRE or not, but we don't need to be on the hamster wheel because we're frugal. Hubby is partially retired, works out of the home. I was forced into retire. Okay, Miss Reynolds. All right. Still frugal. Could be FIRE. So totally up to you. Depending on how you define your situation. Let's see. Find a job that puts in 10% match or more. Now, that's tough, Tam. Most jobs are not putting in 10% or more, right? That's tough. Some people just put in the max that the job matches, maybe 5%, 6%, some jobs, sometimes 3%. And then they go and take the rest of their money and invest in their own brokerage account. Now, listen, if you want to take and fully put in 15% towards your 401k at your job, before you do that, or if you've already done it, listen closely, make sure you agree with and like where your money is being invested by your company or by your job. Because I've ran into people who for 20 years have put 15% into their 401k and have not checked where the money is being invested. And then when they go check, the money has been in some bond fund getting 1% return every year for 20 years. The mistake they made was they never checked. So I'm telling you, today, Thursday, tonight, go to the website online or Friday morning, call up your human resources and make sure for a fact that you know exactly where your money is going in the 401k. And if you like where they're investing it, great. If you need to reallocate, reallocate. If you really enjoy what they're doing and you know you're going to be on your job, up your investment at your job in terms of your 401k, 403b, whatever, go ahead and invest more. If you don't like where they're investing your money, reallocate. And you really don't like that, but you still want to get that match, get that match. Then take the other 10, 12, 15% of your money, your gross, and invest it in your own brokerage account. Your gross. Remember, health insurance is paid off the gross. Taxes are paid off the gross. So you need to pay you off the gross too, right? You pay yourself first, meaning you got to pay yourself off the gross, right? Very important when you're talking about investing. But again, I said diversify your portfolio. Maybe there's low-cost index funds, low-cost ETFs, whatever. Automate the savings. Automate the investing, right? So you don't have to think about it so much. It's so easy just to have the money come automatically out. Much more easy, right? But again, take advantage of dollar cost. We're trying to be real. We're trying to be practical on this live tonight. We're trying to be real and we're trying to be practical and ask the question. And this is the question that you have to ask you. Am I investing enough money to actually retire comfortably? And we defined earlier comfortably as living the way you're currently living right now. Now, if your expenses today are $3,000 a month and you don't want to be living at $3,000 a month when you retire, you'd rather be living at $5,000 a month, then go ahead and use the $5,000 a month in your rule of 25 equation that we talked about earlier, right? Let's see. On TV, everyone is doing great. Turn off the TV and focus on your financial situation. Love that comment, Pistol Pete. Absolutely. Don't live life based on the ESPN highlights on your social media platform, right? Instagram is ESPN highlights. Facebook is ESPN highlights. These are all highlights of people. And if you watch too much of it, you think that everybody's living like that because in your brain, you took everybody's highlights and put them on a reel and just started watching them, right? It's just like when you watch the game on ESPN. They're not going to show you the other scorers scoring. They're going to show you all of LeBron James points, right? That's just the highlights. But LeBron had 22 and Anthony Davis had 40, but they're showing you all of LeBron's highlights, right? So the point is, don't live your life based on the highlights of other people. Thank you, Pistol Pete, for saying that. Really, really important. Let's see. Panama said, my IRA account is catching up with my 401k and contributing every week to my 401k, but once a year to my IRA. Crazy how stocks and investments are so important. Yes. Great comment. Super important. I want to put 20% in my 403b right now. It's at 15%. Call your HR and see how you can up it or if you can up it. And if they say, no, you can't up it or some crazy reason, then you go ahead and put 5% of your gross money into your own brokerage account, Tracy. Let's see, paying off my debt and maxing out my Roth and HSA this year. Congratulations to you, Eva or Iva. Let's see, we good. I get both insurance. Let's see, I don't know what that means. Took a $10,000 loan from my 401k to invest in NVIDIA at a discount yesterday. No. Dastardly. No. This is my opinion. Don't borrow from your 401k to invest in stocks. Please, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Your 401k isn't invested in stocks. Now you're gambling on the fact that you're going to get a 5% return on your 401k, but you're gambling that you're going to get a 9% return or 8% return on that stock. You're playing that's to me, that's the wrong game to play. You're playing with fire. Be careful with that. I would not be taking money from my 401k to invest in any stock. No. Appreciate you, G. Gibson. Is that Gibson? Yep, Gibson, LR. Mrs. Moore, thank you guys. Hit that like button for me. Smash that thumbs up for me. Also, before I forget, check out Mint Mobile. The link to Mint Mobile in the description box. My favorite premium wireless provider. Excellent service, low cost. Check them out. In the description box, don't forget there's 24 Laws of Money, free ebook from me to you. Also in the description box, you can visit us on smartmoneybro.com, the website. You can also check us out on Twitter, X, IG, Facebook. Look, we're Smart Money Bro everywhere. All right. And you can also check out some other videos that we have as well. So thank you for mentioning that. Likes for me, Mrs. Moore. Appreciate it. Let's see. That's why you have to be strategic. Most jobs only contribute about 5 or 6%. You're right. Yeah, somebody said yikes to dastardly. Yeah, same with me. Would you say 67% in stock or Magnificent Seven is a good idea? I'm not a fan of having so much money in the Mag 7. Okay. I'm not a fan of having so much money in the Mag 7 because, again, and I say again, but I'll say it for the first time on this video, the Mag 7 is great. 10 years from now, they won't be the Mag 7. More than likely, several of them will be out of the Mag 7. 15 years from now, probably all of them will be gone. Now, maybe all of them, maybe not, but we'll see. But when they start leaving the Mag 7, are you going to know when to stop investing in them? Are you going to know when to sell off, or are you going to know that? If you do, great. You're doing the right. You're playing the right game. Most people won't know when to get rid of those tech stocks if they ever have to get rid of them. I would not just be focusing 60 to 70% of my money only on tech stocks. Now, listen, if you own VOO, or any other S&P 500 ETF or index fund, 30 or 40% of your money is in tech. So you got to realize that, right? Because those are weighted ETFs typically, and tech has a heavy weight right now. But 70% only concentrated on those Mag 7, I wouldn't do it. That's beyond my risk tolerance level. But Miss Reynolds, if it's right in the wheelhouse of your goals and your risk tolerance level, go for it, right? This is why you have to design a sort of a strategy or plan that fits you. Because the way that Miss Reynolds invests is not the way that I invest. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that, right? So that's my take on that. I hope that I'll help you with that take on that, Miss Reynolds. Art of War said my 401k, 90% large cap, not large cap. Cost index fund, 5% bonds, 5% emerging. I like that. I like that, Art of War. I don't know how old you are, but I like that. Let's see. I leave that in tech ETF for like 10 years and leave it. Not sure what that meant. Let's see. Social media is the devil's work. Could be. Yeah. Somebody said, I like Victor Wembanyama. He's not on the U.S. Olympic hoop team. No, I think he's French. Or is he French? Yeah, he's French. Let's see here. Your favorite rapper be broke. Let's see. Uber and Visa do 10% of your compensation for 401k. Okay. Let's see. I'm just trying to run through some of these chats, guys, see if I miss any questions. Mint Mobile is solid. I agree with you. They're very solid, actually. Let's see here. That's why I partner with them. I don't partner with a whole lot of people, but I do partner with them. So my charge to you, my challenge to you is to increase the amount that you are investing in your 401k, your 403b, any retirement account you have, or investing it, period. Increase it. Stretch yourself. Go above and beyond, guys. This is how you, the reason that I had a $500,000 loss is because of the fact that I didn't stretch. And my net worth would be more than $500,000 or more at this point if I had just stretched myself for 15 years or so, right? Stay informed, make adjustments, consult with a mentor or coach or, your favorite YouTube person. Listen, ask questions. When we come in here in this chat, you can ask me questions all day long, no charge, no big deal. We just have fun and you ask questions. I'll do my best to answer it from my perspective, understanding that everybody's situation is different, right? But maybe listen, I do one-on-ones. There's a link to that in the description box below. Sometimes I forget to mention it. Sometimes I mention it 3 or 4 times, but I do one-on-ones with people to help them maximize and get the most out of their money in terms of their investing, in terms of their side hustles. I don't care if you want to get to understand how to do government contracting with your new business. I don't care if you want to expand your eBay business or want to learn how to do and sell on eBay, Alibaba, Etsy, whatever. I don't care if you want to learn how to invest in real estate. I don't care if you want to learn how to get a YouTube channel and grow your YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if you want to talk about investments, if you want to talk about your personal situation, how to help you get out of debt, how to create a plan, how to write a budget for yourself. I do all of those things to help individuals, right? And I do it, and there's a link in the description box below, but I do it really to say, hey, there's another way to get a hold to me. If you want to do that, we can have that personal conversation. You can also join us on our membership site. The first link you see, first or second link you see in the description box here on YouTube is our other site where we're going to be digging deeper into individual stocks. So check us out there too. You can always have a mentor or a coach or someone to help you, right? Don't forget to set your goals. Write down a plan. Monitor your progress and make adjustments, and stay disciplined and patient to get to your number, right? Using the rule of 25 and the 4% withdrawal rate to get to your number. Be patient, but figure these things out today. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till 6 months from now. Don't put it off. This is just as important, because listen, 20 years from now, you still got to pay rent. 20 years from now, you still got to buy food and eat. You still got to do all those things. So you might as well have as much money as possible, right? Let's see. You can look up a symbol for target date funds. Question, Eric, can you please recommend some non-tech ETFs? Non-tech ETFs. There's, non-tech ETFs. There's VNQ. There's VUG non-tech. Help me, guys. What are some Vanguard non-tech ETFs? Let me pull up a few of them real quick. Let's see here. Actually, I have some written down for you. Let me see if I have a few non-tech ETFs. Of course, there's VTI and VOO, but those are kind of heavy tech, right? Maybe, yeah, I said VNQ. VNQ is REITs. And I kind of like VNQ, right? Then you got VYM. Don't slip on a VYM. All right. Don't slip on VYM. That's a non-tech, right? VYM is more of a dividend paying ETF. But there's a number of them out there, right? Maybe some folks in the chat can also throw a few out there as well. And let's see here. I'll pull up a few more and just kind of throw some out at you, Namisha. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull up. I got a bunch of them running in my head, but I don't want to just start naming off a ton of them. But I'll just give you a few that I like, if that's okay with you. So I am a big, big, big fan of sorry about that. Of VO. I do like VOE. That's one. I mentioned VYM, I think, right? I was going to say VGT, but that's tech. VFH. VFH, let me look. VFH, that's more financials. So there's a few, right? There's some out there. I'll let you, whatever platform you use, you can look up some equivalents to those that I mentioned. But that's a few. I hope that helps you a little bit. All right. I hope that helps you a little bit. Let's keep going here. Let me see here. Question. Oh, let me get that question off. Sorry. Okay. I contribute in my Roth TSP. TSP is Thrift Savings Plan. It's federal government version of the 401k or 403b that benchmarks the S&P 500 and haven't logged in to that account in a few years. Contribute every paycheck automatically. Act like I never had that money. That's it, Freedom. I like that in you. You turn around, that money probably has tons of money in there, right, that you haven't even looked at in years. Let's see here. Somebody said, can I give my opinion of, what is it, SCHD? Is that what the person said? Let's see in the chat. Can I give my opinion of SCHD? It's a pretty diversified across sectors. I like dividend options. That's always good to reinvest, or if I ever need the dividend, I could pocket the money. I always say reinvest those dividends as much as you can. I like SCHD. I think that's on Charles Schwab. And it's been a pretty good fund, right? It's had its ups and downs here in the last, year or so, but it's looking up. Not a bad fund. I think that's a pretty cheap fund. I think it's like $70, $80 or so. So I like SCHD. Doesn't bother me at all. Of course, I do my investing over on Vanguard, but that's okay. Let's see. What about the real estate ETF on Vanguard? Okay, I mentioned it. The real estate ETF on Vanguard, I think, was VNQ. Or did I mention VNQ? That's one of the REITs over there. And I actually own a little bit of VNQ, actually. Although I'm not a huge fan of REITs, I do have a little bit of that one as well. But let's see here. I invested in VOO and VTI, BJM. That's a lot of overlap. VOO and VTI overlap each other quite a bit. Their performance is almost identical. So always look for overlap when you're investing in multiple ETFs. What is there? If there's too much overlap, it doesn't make sense to have both. You're welcome, Namisha. Let's see here. I might have skipped a few. I'm not a big options trader. Nope, right? Don't do that at this point. So listen, my point on this channel, this video, guys, is to give you, to ask you, to challenge you to ask yourself, are you investing enough money to retire comfortably? If you rewind this to the beginning, we did a calculation of the rule of 25. Please, please, please check that out because it's very, very important. All right. So listen, I appreciate you guys more than you know. I'm going to let you get out of here on that. But if you have a question, please do me a favor and drop that question in the comment section below. Check out the description box below of all the free stuff, the links that are down there, right? All that stuff is good stuff that you guys can probably benefit from, and it'll help you out. Listen, if you got anything out of the video, hit that thumbs up button for me. If you got anything of value at all, tap that thumbs up button for me to let me know that once this video goes and closes down, that you got some good, valuable information. And share the stuff, share the link with your friends, your family, your network of good people. Hey, as I always say, the best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you. That's the absolute, absolute best person to take care of that old you, is the you today, the young you. Hey, appreciate you, Mrs. Moore. Appreciate you, Pistol Pete. Appreciate you, BJM. Freedom is not free. Giggle, Jay, Randy, Gibson, Namisha, Iva, Randy, another Randy, all you guys. Appreciate you, Mrs. Moore, for holding down the chat for me as well, of course, as always. Listen, take good care of yourself. Take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.